Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's Tracy with the Gather community, and I am here with the amazing and lovely Lisa Condon. Lisa and I met through another networking organization last year, and I don't know, for some reason, we just kind of clicked. There was a feeling that we were aligned, like heart aligned. And so then we got to know each other better about what we actually do, and she learned a little bit about the Gather community and recently joined us as a creator. So I'm here to spotlight Lisa. Lisa, welcome to the party. I'm so grateful to have you in the Gather community.
Oh, Tracy, I'm so excited to be here. So, first of all, thanks for spending time with me today. I'm excited about that. But, I agree with you. When we first met, it was like, oh yeah,
There's
we
something
need to know
there.
each other. What's there? And so now just being further into the Gather community and really just stepping in and leaning hard, I'm so excited about it. It's an amazing, amazing experience so far.
Well, and you've been in business for quite some time. You're an executive coach, leadership coach, working in the corporate space, but also with women in business, just like the Gather community. And, when I meet someone who's been in business for longer than me, because as 12 years, I tend to, now I'm getting on the end of like one of the longer people, right? Other
Right.
people are like, it's been 3 years. I'm like, wow, I've been around a long time, but you've been around longer than me. So I really love to really soak up whatever it is that you have to offer, because that experience really matters. Because the growth that we all go through in business through the first year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30, I mean, I can't even imagine what 20 and 30 years is going to feel like. So I appreciate you bringing that wisdom and experience and knowledge and caring to all of our audience and to the rest of our members. And whenever you show up, I'm excited for what you're gonna kind of glean from all of the things that we have happening.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just celebrated in May 17 years in business,
Awesome.
and which is incredibly exciting. And at the same time, I blinked. Like
It's
that's
like a
how
wild,
quick
right?
it went. And kind of to what your point as well. And I guarantee you've gone through it too. I call it the ebb, flow, and grow. We ebb and flow in business, and every time we have this metamorphosis at the end of whatever we navigated, and something changes and shifts within our business, and I love that. And so when I think about the Gather community and those in the Gather community going through any of those ebbs and flows, no matter how long you've been in business, to have a community to talk through some of that with,
Yeah.
it's invaluable. It's invaluable in
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm really grateful that we're able to hold that space for people to have that growth and transformation. So tell us more about what it is you do with your clients, and in the different areas that you do. Like what's your I used to listen to a radio station. They used to say, "What was your bucket all about? What's your bucket all about?" I don't know. It just
What's
still
my
comes
bucket
out. No
all
one knows
about?
what that means, but tell us about, your 17 years. Tell us about your
Yeah.
evolution, how you got here, and how you got to where you are today, because that, changed over time.
Sure, absolutely. And so oh boy, do we have hours. How I
No, we don't have
started
hours. It's short.
no, how I started in business is kind of interesting. So I actually was in the newspaper industry and I was on an upward trajectory and had a plan. You know, I don't want to say ladder climbing, but that's essentially what was going on.
Yeah.
And that's what I was hired to do. And I kept having people say to me, "Do you consult? Do you freelance? Do you do X, Y, and Z?" And I always said no. And then there was something that occurred that didn't feel right. It didn't sit well with me. And literally the next day, I got asked the question, "Do you consult?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And I didn't leave the industry that day. But for one more year, I gave myself 1 year to just get everything ramped up, and that's what I did. Um, and so I started off trying to be everything to everybody because I knew a lot of business stuff. And so I went down the road of just because I can, I did. Don't ever do that. And so that's where some of that ebb and flow came from. But ultimately, after many years of doing different things and figuring out really where I wanted to spend my time. So I am a business consultant. I like to call myself a thought partner with my clients. While I do corporate work, I've actually started moving away from that, and I work more now with small businesses and entrepreneurs, only because I love helping to cultivate and create the magic of change. And so I have a really wonderful superpower that I can see the potential in people that they can't see in themselves. And so I help build that out. That also, Tracy, leads to a lot of just one-on-one life or executive coaching, because we're just a person. And so we have some persona that shows up in the business realm and some that shows up in the personal realm. And then kind of enveloped in all of that is value systems. So I am a very big proponent of core values, how to define your core values, and then also the layer of gratitude. So everything that I do is on a primary foundation of gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I follow you, obviously. I follow everyone, but that is so evident, right? You do your three gratitudes every single day. I'm always really curious to see what that is going to be, because that gives us a little glimpse into things that are happening for you, but
Mm-hmm.
also the things that that generally are good that are happening for people. And those are the people that I like to follow, because we all love that positivity factor in our lives. And I love that because so there's a couple of things that you said that caught my ear, especially when working with people who are newer in business. The idea of really defining your core values, which people will say, oh yeah, I value this, I value that, but do you have it defined and written down and understood, right? And have you looked at all areas? Because people will often kind of maybe hone in on just kind of one side of their persona or their life and forget that they also value these other things that affect everything too. So good. And then and I assumed, of course, that I know that you had that corporate background, but leaning into small business entrepreneurs, because that's where we're at. And why else would you be here if you weren't looking to, grow and be a part of that community as well? So I love that. I love that. That was one of the things, the core values and leaning into that was something that I was taught just before creating the Gather community. And it not only helped me really remember why we were here, because when we had Gather that closed and became the Gather community, the in-person space to the online, we had to, and that's what happened with all of us at the pandemic, right? We had to really lean into what really mattered,
Yes.
and to have that figured out, at least the start of it, and then maybe fine tune it even more. Then did you find that was happening when the pandemic was hitting, that ended up being something that helped people transition their time?
Um, that's a good question. Yes, yes, and so that's a yes and answer, because I think a couple of things. One, I think people think they know what their core values are, but until you actually do the work, you don't. Um, you may be close, but really you have to do the work. So I think what happened and what I found was people needed to go back to their why,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't always envelop the core values, right? Because they don't know what they are. So, but it does go back to why they started their business and what it is they were trying to either achieve or give back to the world, where whatever that space was
Yeah.
for them. So I did a lot of Simon Sinek work of, start with why.
So good.
And then the value system came, I would say, in adjacent to that work, because in general, and people I worked with, or even just people I know, really were pivoting and realized that what they were doing may not have been what they should be doing. And I mean, there was the great exodus, right? Everybody was leaving their jobs to start their own company because that's what they thought they needed to do. And that
Right.
wasn't for everybody. So I would say a high percentage of those folks are now going back to work and they're getting a traditional job.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot I think pandemic did for us, and let us really reflect on ourselves and really go deep within ourselves. But the values work, again, funny enough, that kind of came after. I think I'm doing more values work now than I did during pandemic.
Yeah. Well, and that makes sense, because that was such a, for lack of a more accurate term, such a survival mode moment, right? We were all
Yes.
just trying to figure out how to get through. We didn't have any idea what was going to happen the next day, let alone the next year. So it makes sense that people that entrepreneurship wasn't really for, but they kind of felt like they needed to, because what else are you going to do when you're at home all day long?
Right.
And that, like, oh, that's now's the time, I have the chance, right? But
Right.
if it's not for you, yeah, head back to what is for you.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it, because entrepreneurship, it, as they say, ain't for sissies, right? We it's work, it's a challenge, and
Mhm.
unless it's really kind of part of your the DNA you're creating in your own body, then maybe it's not the best way to enjoy and have a fulfilled life, really.
I
The money
completely,
notwithstanding, do you like it? If you
right.
don't like it, don't do it.
Don't do it. And I couldn't agree more. And because you are everything. And actually I even think I heard you say it at one point. You're everything from the CEO to the janitor and everything in between.
Yeah.
That is truly who you are. And you going back to something you said about the different personas and with the values in particular. So I actually built value cards and use them. And
Mhm.
I have one that's a personal deck and one that's a professional deck. And I did that very purposefully. And it's not because the core value, the word itself might be different, but the definition of it might be different
Yeah.
of how you integrate that into your life or business.
Yeah.
Um, and and I love doing that
I
because
love
I
that.
love aha moments. And again,
Yeah.
that magic that happens because it's from there that you can build your strategic plan. You can build your path to success. You can build what your life looks like for the next 90 days. And oh, by the way, through structure comes spontaneity. So the more you plan and set yourself up for success, the more time you have to
Mm,
play and have fun. So just saying.
yes. Oh my gosh. So, see, this is why we are here. We are so aligned. Like everything you're saying, it reminds me of the things that come out of my mouth when I talk about being bold in your life and your business. And, being bold means different things to different people, and what it means for your life and what it means for your business, it shows up differently. But
Yes.
sometimes the underlying piece is the same piece.
Yes.
It's that value that you hold, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
so good, so good. Awesome. So you're doing work that so you have different things that are ongoing, things like workshops, and you mentioned their values card. I didn't pull my card out that I got from that meeting not long ago, but it was that was one of the things where I was just like, well, of course I got this from Lisa's deck because it was perfect, and that's why we're here. So I'm
Yeah.
loving that. Talk a little bit about the ways you're actually, so you talk about structure, 90-day plan, and all those things. Talk a little bit about what you do when you're working with clients.
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, as far as workshops go, funny enough, my workshops are, I have the values workshop, and then I have one other workshop that I do, which is around building strategy. And that's it. Everything else is one-on-one. And
Yeah.
the reason why I do that, I shouldn't say that, it's one-on-one or it's with a team, like somebody's cohesive
Yeah.
team at
Yeah.
their work. And the reason that I do that is everybody's different. They're at a different starting point in their career or their business. And I want to make sure that I'm in it with them. So that's
Yeah.
why I like to call myself a thought partner, a thought leadership partner, because I'm in it and I'm an extension of your team
Yeah.
essentially. So what I do first when I work with clients is I go in and I want to understand. I Let's do a discovery call and you give me a mind dump of all the stuff. And as I'm listening, I'm a very big note taker. Um, I can kind of see the path. And once I see the path, I can also understand where the gaps are and what somebody might be struggling with. And oftentimes, and this will resonate with you, I know it will. When people think it's a barrier in business, it's actually a barrier within themselves. And so, so I help to kind of figure that out. But then once we do kind of that discovery work and really have a foundation of our conversations and our starting point, then I want to look at what we're going to measure. So we build out metrics. I do what's called the now, next, and later plan, and we define what now, next, and later means, and we set what those OKRs, like I use some corporate lingo because that's how I resonate with myself and set it up. But essentially, we put goals together, aspirations together, and then we build out the plan on how you're going to get there and
Yep.
understand exactly what it is that you need. So really, we build out an entire strategic toolkit together. And then I hold you accountable to it because at the end of the day, I have nothing to win or lose. It's really up to the individual to go as fast or as slow as they need to, and making sure that if you need to pivot along the way, I'm here to help with that pivot
Yep.
because I think people uncover things about their logic, themselves, the business, whatever it might look like. Or you might have outlying factors like, I don't know, a pandemic could change everything for you. So, so that's what I do. I absolutely love what I do. And I love it. I love business. I can talk business all day long. And because I have such a background in it, I can offer a lot from a business lens, a corporate lens,
Yeah.
an business ownership lens, because I really have that good array of
Yeah.
background.
Well, and what that means for a lot of people is, as when you're early in your entrepreneur journey, one of the things that changed for me was when I started stop saying I had a business and started saying I was building my company. Like the
Mm-hmm.
idea
Yeah.
of of it being you versus what are you trying to get to, and that bigger vision like often needs to come from someone else first. Like,
Yes.
what do you want in 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And it's really hard in the beginning to be able to envision that for yourself because you're just so like doing all the little things. So to be able to offer people a structure that will take them further than they were kind of able to envision
Mm-hmm.
themselves, I think is a huge, huge value. I love that.
Yeah. I look at it similarly, but I also see it as a journey.
Mm.
So for me, it's more of seeing the potential, seeing like the what could be and see how it feels and resonates. What you will not find me do is I will never have a 10-year plan with somebody because I think too much can
It's
happen in
too
that
far
time
ahead.
frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but that's why we define the now, next, and later
Yeah.
because you can only do so many things right now.
Yeah.
We're one
Right.
person. You only have this much time. That actually happened recently. I had a client wanted to do all the things. I'm like, okay, let's write all of this down. We went to the next meeting and she was like, I can't do all of this. I'm like, okay. And I knew that,
Like I
but I
know that.
wanted to let her come to that
Yep.
versus me telling her, listen, you can't do it all. So,
Right.
and that's where that partnership comes in because
Mhm.
I'm going to let you find your way and I'll stop you when you get to the point of, listen, I know it's not going anywhere, and that's the other thing too, for people that work with me, one of the things I tell them right up front is I am not your person unless you want truth and transparency, because I will always give you that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because if they are not making the decisions or, I mean, sometimes they just need a different kind of support before they get
Yeah.
to you.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 And when I was saying like the 10-year whatever, like I
Yeah.
mean more about like, wow, this really is a thing. Like
Oh
seeing
yeah.
that it is a thing. And yes, of course, you can only work in the moment. I love the now, next, and later. It's a great way to, just kind of make it really simple right there
Mm-hmm.
in front of you. Now, next, and later. Okay, great. Later can be next year, 5 years, whatever you want it to be. It's later.
Yes.
It's not something you're paying attention to now, but it's a dream or whatever.
Right. And the reason why I'm so specific about that is because I used to do 5, 10-year and 15-year plans. And that was a
Mm-hmm.
big pivot of mine that I did maybe 6 or 7 years
Awesome.
ago. And it resonated with me in a
Yeah,
deep way, which meant it resonated with the people that I ended up working with. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Beautiful. Well, I'm really, really thrilled to hear all of this detail. I mean, like we said, we've met, we kind of vibed, but we're still getting to know the details about
Yeah.
this type of stuff. So I love this conversation. I'm so glad to be able to have it with you and to share it with our community and with the world. I hope that anyone who's listening, if you're still listening, that you'll take this and go ahead and share it with someone who you think could use a little inspiration about the fact that they can find the support that they need. And if they need a community, that if you come hang out with us in the Gather community, you're probably going to meet someone that matters for you and your future and your fulfillment. Um, and, one of the great things about what we do for our creators in the Gather community is we have a one-stop, one page thing where you can find Lisa and her information and her contact information. And this video will be hanging out there. That page will be in the show notes, or the show notes. It's not a podcast yet. In the notes here on the YouTube channel, so you can find that. So you can connect with Lisa, make sure that how to find out about what she has. She does speaking and things like that. So you can always get those opportunities to learn more about her or connect and have a conversation about whether or not what Lisa does is something that you need to grow your business, or if it's the right time for you to talk about that is probably a better way to put that. So Lisa, I want to say thank you for your time. Is there anything else you want to say as a wrap up
Oh,
soundbite
I no,
situation?
I think the only thing I would say is I love to connect with people because at the end of the day, it all starts with relationships.
Yeah.
So reach out. I want to talk to you.
Yay. Beautiful. I love that. 100% agree. Thank you everyone for watching. It's Tracy with the Gather Community with Lisa Condon, and I hope that you all have a fantastic